Hey, what is up guys, Ned is here from Nookstack, and today I will share some of my personal insights about RedmiBook 16 Ryzen edition. I have been using and testing this laptop for more than 2 weeks now, and to be honest, as long as there are quite many positive things about it, there are also some drawbacks you must know before buying. So let me start off with why I have decided to buy this laptop. Well, first of all, design-wise with RedmiBook 16 looks really good. It has a solid aluminum alloy chassis, it has a decent 16.1 inches display with a 100% sRGB value, it has slim bezels, and the hardware inside sounds pretty powerful as well. Finally, this laptop is priced just around 650 euros, pretty impressive. But can it be all rainbows and unicorns? Well, let's slow it down from here. When it comes to the overall build quality, I have no complaints. On the top there are a small Redmi logo saying powered by Xiaomi, and in general design is very minimalistic and meets my taste perfectly. On the right side you will find a 3.5mm audio jack and a USB 2.0. Meanwhile on the left, 2 USB Type-C ports, out of which only one can be used for chatting and video output, as another one only supports data transfer. Add to this, you will also find one more USB 3.0 and finally the HDMI port. Unfortunately, there is no SD card slot, and I would also like to see at least one more USB port. Now as we move to the keyboard, it's also a pretty solid one. The spacing and travel distance is good, however there are two things I wish Xiaomi would have done differently. I really hate the layout of keys on the right side. For me, the enter button must be the last one on the side, so for the first few days I was constantly hitting the wrong button. Of course, it's not a deal breaker at all, but it takes some time to get used to it. Furthermore, the finish quality of the keys feels a bit cheap, and add to this is not a backlit keyboard. The trackpad on Redmi 16 is big and it works just great. It uses Windows high precision drivers, all clicks are smooth, and during those 2 weeks I had no issues at all. Another big improvement Redmi did compared to its smaller RedmiBook 14 brother is the screen. Full HD resolution for 16 inches size in my opinion is just enough, and 100% of sRGB means that colors will be displayed and represented quite accurately. That's a good thing, especially if you're working with editing software like Adobe Photoshop or Lightroom. Slim bezels on the RedmiBook 16 gives a proper vibe of 2020 design, however there is no integrated webcam. But personally I don't care that much because anyways I don't use it at all, but hey, what about you? How often do you use your laptop's webcam? Share with me in a comment section below. As we move to the sound department, the speakers of RedmiBook 16 are just okay. They are not loud at all, but it will do the job for your daily tasks. Here is some short audio sample and comparison to my Razer Blade 15. Alright, now let's talk more about the hardware and overall performance. My specific model comes with AMD Ryzen 4700U, 16GB of DDR4 RAM which are clocked at 2600 MHz, 512GB of SSD with an average transfer speeds, and integrated GPU with only 512MB of dedicated video memory. Now obviously the RedmiBook is not for gaming fans. Even though I still did some tests to see how they handled some of my Steam games, and at the end it was not so terrible. I mean, for AAA titles you would most probably get between 30 to 40 FPS on 720p resolution at lowest graphics settings, meanwhile some older or less demanding games could also do 1080p with playable FPS. So if you're just light gamer, well, RedmiBook 16 might work for you. On the Cinebench R20 benchmark I was able to get quite an impressive score of 3045 points for multi-core and 477 points for a single core test. This Ryzen 4000 series CPU actually outperformed my Razer Blade with Intel 8750H CPU, so I was pretty positive regarding my upcoming tests. As I'm a content creator and editor, Photoshop and Premiere Pro are my top 2 apps that I use daily. Due to that, I have also done some benchmark tests for these programs, and here are my results. So as you can see, for the Photoshop, RedmiBook 16 did perform quite okay. However, for Premiere Pro, well, that's a totally different story. I did update all drivers to the latest, tried to tweak some settings, but after all those attempts, I was still struggling on this video editing software. It might be the problem actually with Adobe itself and optimization, so at the end, I found out the only solution to use proxies for smoother editing experience. This new laptop from Xiaomi also comes with a pretty cheap Wi-Fi card, which is quite a disappointment. Well, thanks God it can be easily swapped, and actually that's what I did on my first days. I have upgraded it with Intel's AX200 Wi-Fi 6 card that also supports Bluetooth 5.0, and well, that was a game changer considering Wi-Fi speed. It's also worth mentioning that 512GB drive can also be upgraded if you want so, although the stock Samsung SATA 3 SSD is fine and delivers the average speed of around 500 megabits. Now what about the battery? This RedmiBook has a relatively small 46 Wh battery, which should be okay for 5 to 6 hours in less demanding conditions, just like watching YouTube and general browsing. I did some real tests for Netflix watching with a full 100% screen brightness, and I was able to get over 7 hours. Meanwhile, the battery capacity is not the strongest point. I really like that RedmiBook 16 has a fast USB Type-C charging, which takes only 38 minutes to charge from 0 to 50%. Furthermore, just look how tiny this 65W charger is. I mean, it's almost the same size as my OnePlus 7 Pro 30W charger, and that's quite impressive. Finally, when it comes to the thermals, this laptop stays pretty cool all the time, and the fans do a good job while staying in silent. That's not what I can say about my Razer Blade 15, so I definitely must give some credits to Xiaomi. So what are my final conclusions and recommendations? RedmiBook 16 is a mid-range laptop with a great IPS screen, slim bezels, very good build quality, quick charging, super compact charger and powerful AMD Ryzen processor. However, all the other internal parts are just an average. It's also pretty light, only 1.8 kilos, however it doesn't have an SD card reader, it doesn't have a webcam, and it also doesn't have a backlit keyboard. But again, for 650 euros, this laptop will provide you with smooth everyday tasks like general browsing, streaming YouTube, watching Netflix, or even editing on less demanding software just like Photoshop or Lightroom. Unfortunately, if you're expecting better performance in video editing and other 3D programs, I would suggest you getting at least Mi Notebook Pro or RedmiBook 16 with Intel's 10th generation CPU and Nvidia MX350 video card, which has 2 GB of dedicated memory. And if you're a more hardcore user or gamer, well, in this case you should consider buying Xiaomi Mi gaming laptop with even more powerful CPU, 144Hz display, and most importantly, a decent RTX 2060 video card. Being that said, I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more high quality tech reviews. Thanks for watching, this is Nellis from Nux Tech, and I will see you next time.